Hello and welcome, everyone. I am Tejas and I'm a senior research manager at Global School Leaders, and I'm based in Bangalore, India. We're really excited to welcome you to the second School Leadership Matters Summit. Before we begin, I just want to read out a few guidelines to ensure that everything runs smoothly for you. Please select the interpretation option at the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred language. The session is available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. The session will also last for 60 minutes, which includes dedicated time for Q&A at the end of the session. And you can also use the Q&A feature to ask questions. The speakers will try to answer as many questions as possible. And as attendees, please remain on mute throughout the session to avoid any background noise. A gentle reminder to keep the comments respectful in the chat, ensuring a positive and productive environment for everyone. So welcome again, and thank you for joining today despite all your busy schedule. Today, we are joined by an excellent group of panelists. We are grateful to have our moderator, Sambhrant Srivastava, Associate Project Director at Central Square Foundation. He's joined by panelists Clio Dintilhac, Senior Program Officer at the Gates Foundation, Suvarna Latha, ma'am, who is a school leader from India, Todd Pugatch, Associate Professor of Economics from the University at Buffalo, and Kwizera Andrew, Intern School Pure Learning Officer, Rwanda Basic Education Board. Today, we'll be exploring how school leadership can make a difference in improving FLN outcomes. We'll talk about what effective FLN leadership looks like in action, what kind of support and training school leaders need, and how systems can build leadership into the heart of FLN reforms. We'll also have a few polls questions for you to answer, so please keep an eye out for those. Thanks again, and over to you, Sambhrant.
Thank you so much, Tejas, for the introduction. And for all the participants, I am really excited to take you through the next 60 minutes, where we have so many great people join us today, and we'll try to answer a lot of questions and keep this entire thing very interesting, right? So, just to start this off, and I want to start with a very controversial question. Um, if you have if you had to pick one things that you believe school leaders should just stop doing today because it is holding back foundational learning, what do you believe that should be? And I would like to open the floor for Andrew to answer us. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you so much. If I was to Andrew, the school leaders to stop doing, first of all, is we have been having a tendency of having so many the curriculum being too big, and this makes school leaders want teachers to finish the syllabus as early as possible. So they push them to finish the syllabus. The school leaders, the head teacher or deputy head teacher in charge of studies, is interested in having teachers complete the syllabus, the curriculum as planned, but compromising the quality of learning. What is being taught? Are the students learning? Are they understanding? Are they comprehending? So I would tell the school leaders to stop pushing teachers to finish the syllabus, rather mind about what is being taught in the syllabus.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Excellent point. Suvarna ma'am, why don't you come take the stage and share your thoughts on it?
Hello, everyone. One thing is we have to stop doing is when there is a gap between the current learning levels of the children and the grade learning levels are high, there is a need to remediate. So they should, the school leader should identify it, then start teaching FLN. Because
Understood. But what do you think they should stop doing?
So we should limit the grade learning level of the students, because the grade learning level is high and current learning level of the children are low. So we have to remediate the gap between these two. So, and they should concentrate on FLN. So they should stop, they should limit the grade learning level of the students.
Understood. Thank you so much. Todd, how about you? What are your remarks to this?
Sure. If I could pick one thing school leaders should stop doing, I would say teaching, by which I mean directly teaching in the classroom. One survey we conducted in my research of school leaders in Karnataka, India, 2/3 of school leaders said they spend at least 1/4 of their time teaching. And I'm sure this is well intentioned. They're filling in for absent teachers and filling in gaps. But if there's one thing we learned from my field of economics is that there's no free lunch. There's a high cost to this time spent on teaching. It's time not spent on doing some of the more important duties of a school leader that we just heard from the other panelists.
Thank you so much for that. Clio, how about you?
Thanks. So one of my pet peeves is unnecessary administrative work of teachers. And I think there's a pretty common practice, which is that even when there is a guide and a pretty clear lesson plan, in the teacher guide, that teachers are mandated to copy and to write their own lesson plan in advance and hand it to the school leaders and to the inspector when they come. That exists in many systems and usually takes a lot of unnecessary time from teachers in preparation. And so I would get rid of this kind of copying of lesson plans in advance to have the teachers, be more focused on other things that are also important. Thanks.
Got it. Thank you so much. Todd, since you mentioned about your research, I want to probe a little deeper over there, right? So based on your systematic review of leadership and management interventions, particularly in low-income and middle-income countries, what is one common leadership practice in schools that you feel everybody is right now over-investing in, but it's not like really moving the needle much? And what is one undervalued yet very high potential practice that these people should be doing?
Sure. So this is a great question. Unfortunately, it's really hard to answer with the existing data. Specific leadership practices are correlated with many other factors that are going to influence outcomes at the school level. So it's hard to look at a correlation and be confident that it really represents a causal effect. Now, there are programs which train school leaders on specific management practices, and that was the focus of our systematic review. But even these are bundles of multiple components, so it can be hard to isolate specific practices. So that said, what I'm about to say is based more on some combination of speculation and hard-headed reading of the evidence. But I would say, when it comes to promoting foundational literacy and numeracy, which is our focus today, I'm skeptical of approaches that focus on, generic school improvement plans or generic improvements in management skills. Undoubtedly, these are important and useful, but if we're interested in promoting FLN, there's a long causal chain that goes from a generic school improvement plan or management practice to improvements in FLN. If you're a school leader interested in promoting FLN, I think you should focus on it directly. Put it on the school timetable if you can, in the form of a remedial period or something similar. This accomplishes two things. It carves out time in the school day where teachers must focus on FLN, and it signals to teachers how seriously you take the issue. So that's how I would change the existing allocation of school leader effort to favor FLN.
And if I have to probe this a little bit deeper, Todd, what do you think is the constraint that currently principals and school leaders are facing, because of which they are not able to remediate or find specific time in the school calendar to do this?
Yeah, I think it comes down to time. That it's a constraint both on literally the time in the school timetable. Often schools are in session for a limited number of hours to accommodate the travel needs and the schedules of the children and their households. There's a lot of mandates from the Ministry of Education to fit certain things within the day. So there's a time constraint there. And there's also a time constraint on the school leaders themselves. Clio mentioned the administrative burden that they face and other duties. So they don't always have as much time to focus on this. So I would see, those time constraints in that dual meaning I just gave as being the major constraint.
Thanks so much for that answer, Todd. Clio, I have a question for you. I was going through some of the recent articles that you have published where you have like very keenly argued about something that you're calling the missing middle, right? The layer which is between policy and design and classroom practice. And you go on to say that it is often the weakest link in scaling foundational learning. So from your vantage point, what do you think is the single most important things that systems should be doing to strengthen this missing middle? And especially if you can talk about what is it that these people can do for school leaders to improve FLN?
Yeah, absolutely. So the core issue around improving FLN is that supporting changes in practice for teachers is hard. And this is why I was also saying earlier that it's really important to make practice change as easy as possible for teachers. And one of the role of the school leader is to alleviate as much as possible the administrative burden, to focus really on this kind of fidelity to the guide or adherence to the materials, which is in itself already a hard thing. And one of the key challenges in improving teaching quality is that teachers have very few opportunities to interact professionally with other adults. And here I'm answering your question, essentially starting from this problem and then going one level up to better understand, what is the role of the people just above the teachers. So broadly, to change practices, you need instructional support. And this role is provided, by different, people in different systems. In some contexts, there are enough district level staff that are sometimes called CISO, sometimes ARP, sometimes coaches, who can regularly visit schools and offer this instructional support. But in others, that coaching layer is just missing. So if you take several West African countries like Senegal, several provinces in South Africa, you just don't have these people at the district level to visit schools. So the responsibility needs to fall on school-based staff to step in. And while we have a lot of evidence of what good teaching looks like, while we have decent evidence of what good coaching or instructional support looks like, I think we have really little evidence on how to support, either district level staff or school leaders to better manage the coach, to better enable this instructional support to happen. So I think the most important research agenda at a time when, we really need to think about how, ministries, governments, districts and sub-districts, and eventually school leaders, own this agenda of improving learning. I think this research agenda of how to move, districts and sub-district leader in some context, school leaders in others, to better manage the academic lead within the school or the coach that is visiting the school at the district level, to provide this instructional support well, is a really, really key question. And this may involve, regular review of school performance, asking questions to the instructional support staff around what they're seeing in the school, and, basic management practices. But I think there's a broader change process in terms of mindset that needs to happen at different levels, and that needs to refocus on teaching. So, in a nutshell, the role of school leaders vary by context, but this refocus on learning and changes in teaching practices is key.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Clio. In fact, I would like to also share an anecdote from the work that we do in India across multiple states. Something that I'm seeing consistently across multiple states, like in Uttar Pradesh, which is one of the biggest states in India, is that having a cadre like the ARP cadre, which is essentially the teacher, mentor, coach cadre, has been very helpful overall to provide that support to teacher, and does not become like a one-time training activity, but the ARP keeps going to the teacher's classroom to support the teacher, and there is some hand-holding. I think worth thinking, how is it that we design such solutions for like really large-scale places? For example, in UP, Uttar Pradesh in India, there are 1.1 million teachers in just one state. So it's quite a big challenge in itself. Thanks so much for that.
And if I may, because I think the key to the work organizations like yours do in India is that you're not just working with the ARPs, you're working at the block, at the district level to review data, coach them, have them go with the ARPs into school. And so this management layer essentially engagement is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Clio. Andrew, I have read that Rwanda has developed a structured, multifaceted policy framework for school leadership, right? It has incorporated school leaders recruitment, induction, and ongoing training. And there is also a dedicated unit which sits within the Rwanda Basic Education Department Board, which supports this. My bigger question is that what is it that you feel that differentiates those teachers who succeed at improving FLN from those who struggle? And what do you think is the support that is required for these teachers to bridge the gap?
Thank you so much. In Rwanda, during COVID-19, in 2020, the government constructed more than 20,000 new classrooms. When students were not going to school, the government constructed many classrooms to reduce the student-teacher ratio. This caused us to recruit, to hire some of the teachers who had not studied education. We called them uncertified teachers. And this caused the outcome of this, whereas we reduced the overcrowding of students in class and the student-teacher ratio, it created a pool of teachers who don't know very well how to teach. Pedagogically, some of them were not good. So the difference is we have those who have knowledge on who can best teach reading, writing, and counting very well. But we also have that pool of teachers who are not good because they did not study foundational education. That is one. Two, we have in 2012, Rwanda introduced competence-based education curriculum, competence-based curriculum to help learner-centered teaching. But we still have some teachers who are still addicted to the outdated knowledge-based learning, and they want to complete the syllabus. They want to show the head teacher that, look, I have already completed my syllabus for this year. But what have the students gained for the completion of teaching? We also have some teachers who don't use the data in a frequent assessment of students, level and unit assessment, so that they can adjust teaching methodologies. So some of them teach and they want to test students at the end of the course, at the end of the term, at the end of the year. So this also brings a gap in between the two. There is a gap between those who use the data, regular assessment for students to know their levels of understanding so they can remediate. They can, because we have a remedial program in place. So, but what the government has done is that we have now so far trained the uncertified teachers. We had 26,000 uncertified teachers, those who had not studied education in primary schools. But now we have, in collaboration with the University of Rwanda and the National Examination and the School Inspection Authority, we have trained all of them. Now we don't have a single teacher who is not certified. So every teacher now has been trained, is certified in education. We have also introduced CPDs. We have every Wednesday, we have 3 hours per week dedicated for CPD in each school on Wednesday afternoon, 3 hours for for CPD. So that's where those who are not good at teaching can learn from others. We have introduced communities of practice, COPs, where teachers of the same subject meet and they discuss challenges in teaching. So in each school, there are COPs for each specific learning area. So those who teach languages, those who teach mathematics, they have a COP, a meeting for all those teachers of the same subject. We have also trained. Last year, we trained all school head teachers and deputy head teachers in charge of studies on instructional leadership. Because some of them have graduated from university and they have not studied early childhood and lower primary education. So they don't have much knowledge. They have gone to higher education, general education, they have gone to university and come and go to manage schools. So they have been lacking instructional leadership, and we have trained all of them on instructional leadership. We have trained them methodologies in lower primary, in pre-primary, so that when they go to visit a pre-primary teacher, they know the methodology that is being used by this teacher. Because some of them use it to think that they are playing with children. They are not teaching, rather playing with children. So we have trained all of them on instructional leadership. We have trained them to know the methodologies in lower primary and pre-primary education, so that they all have knowledge. They can best go and carry out lesson observation when they know what exactly is supposed to be taught in foundational classes. So those are some of what we have done, and we have also have a CPD framework and guidelines, so that in each school we have CPDs organized by school-based mentors. So and we also have school subject leaders. Each subject has a subject leader, a senior teacher, one who masters the subject more than others. So this one provides coaching and mentoring to these teachers who are struggling. That's what the government has done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for that honest analysis of what's happening in your country, and also sharing how is it that you are using in-service training as a very important program to strengthen these untrained teachers that you have in your country. And taking a cue from that, I want to now go towards Suvarna, ma'am. Ma'am, essentially, all of this talk that we just had, like about policy, about economics, that how what a teacher and a school leader does in classroom, how all of these things impact, right? But if you have to talk the real talk and like talk about, let's say, your weekly calendar, which part of your job do you think you should spend most time to strengthen FLN, and which do you actually spend it on? And why do you think that gap exists?
Okay, then if I want to spend, I used to spend actually more time on each groups which were based on conducted on baseline or monthly assessment of the students. So the class, in the class, there are different levels of group children, and I spent more time on teaching at the right level to the groups. Two focused groups and remaining self-learning groups. So teaching at the right level helps the students and teachers also to concentrate more on that particular groups, because teachers cannot concentrate on all students, because basing on the baseline assessment, the students will be divided into 4 to 5 groups in foundational literacy as well as the foundation numeracy. So the teacher concentrates only on 2 focused groups, so that the time is allocated because a school leader in consultation with the FLN team and with the students' learning levels, she makes a plan. I used to make a plan, weekly plan, and basing on that, 1 hour or 2 hours per day will be allocated to the foundation literacy and numeracy. And teachers teach the students on 2 focus groups, teaching at the right level. So where the students' current learning level. So basing on that, with the available resources, taking from the grade 1, 2, 3 resources, and what allocated activities which are prior prepared by the low cost teaching learning material, which is useful to the focused group, so that the students will improve in that. So next class, they will concentrate on other 2 groups, focused groups. So it will help. So I spend most time on this teaching at the right level of that student. So it helped me a lot, and we found a lot of improvement in the students of each group, so that the student may not feel any difficulty with the help of the teacher also. And I did not find any gap between the what I want to spend and what I ended up. So there is no gap at all, because already it is planned with taking the suggestions and the strategies or challenges, taking from the teacher side as well as from the student side. So it worked well and went on well, and I found lot of improvement in the different levels. After 15 days taking an assessment, again there is a different lot of improvement in these groups. So basing on the assessment of after 15 days, again we regrouped the all the learning levels of the students basing on the assessment after 15 days. So it worked well in my school, as we worked on it, foundation literacy and numeracy in my school.
Sure, ma'am. So it's an excellent program that you're talking about, teaching at the right level. I want to go a little bit deeper into it, and I want to ask you, what is it that you did as a school leader to enable all of this happen in your school with your teachers? What is it that a school leader can do to enable this?
So in the beginning, whenever we wanted to improve the foundation literacy and numeracy as a government policy, so all these teachers were worried a lot, because regular teaching, the grade learning levels should be improved, because they have to concentrate on the regular syllabus, and they have to improve the learning levels, current learning levels of the students. So if the teachers concentrate on the current learning levels of the students, they miss the coverage of syllabus, because syllabus is very important and they need to attend all the examination, government examination. So at the time, what I did in my school is I conducted a meeting with them, because as Andrew said, that we need support of a school leader to all the teachers, because they hesitate to take a step forward. And then the school leaders' importance, encouragement and motivation is very, very important in making the weekly plan and allocation of timetable. So timetable is also very, very important, because the regular timetable will be given to the regular teaching subjects. But if we allocate time to the foundation and literacy, usually the regular teaching classes will be missed. So taking all these challenges and the difficulties of the students and the learning levels of the students and the teachers' hard work, and we decided to prepare a plan, that is weekly plan. So first we wanted to conduct, I discussed with the FLN team, conducted a baseline test assessment. So basing on that, we made into different groups in literacy, foundation literacy, as well as numeracy. So basing on the different levels, 5 to 6 groups according to the levels of the students, we allotted 1 hour in the regular timetable, so that the teachers will concentrate on it. So when we worked on this, and teachers also hesitated to teach, take up the foundation literacy classes also. But while they are implementing all these activities and taking the resources of first grade, second grade, third grade textbooks, and these students gradually improved a lot after 15 days of these teaching at the right level, taking to 2 focus groups and self-learning groups. So it will change day by one day, 2 focus groups, and second day that focus groups will change to another groups. So the school leader has to play a very important role till the teachers see the progress in the students. And even the students also felt so happy because when the student is at the beginner level or word level or number level, after 15 days, if the student is improved with the help of using the resources or the activities, the student also showed a lot of interest in learning the activities or improving their learning levels also. So practically, I experienced all this while conducting these foundation literacy numeracy in all the classes of in my school.
Understood. Thank you so much, Suvarna ma'am, for sharing all of that. And I
Thank
would
you.
definitely want to point out one thing, that how whenever you were speaking, you spoke about we did this, we did that. It kind of also shows that kind of teamwork that you have built in your school,
Yes,
and
yes.
how
Without
everything is
teamwork, it
enjoined
cannot be possible.
shared responsibility in your teachers. Yes, thank you so much for that.
School leader plays an important role to lead the FLN so that we can see great results. So I saw the result, and students also felt so happy. And in numeracy, all the students, they reach to divisional level within 3 months. And in literacy also, most of the students reach to paragraph level. So that was the change, vast change in the students I found within 3 months. So only few students were in word level and number level, 1 or 2 students. So teachers also get motivated and they also felt happy. So usually teachers and myself as a school leader, we felt so happy, and we celebrated by seeing the improvement in the students' learning levels also. Then after 3 months, it's very, very easy for us to jumping into the grade learning levels also. So it helped us because student has to attempt the regular subject-wise examinations also, government examinations also. You know it very well, isn't it?
Understood.
So that is a teamwork. And as school principal has to take lead of it. Otherwise, it's not possible.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And before I ask the next question, I just want to round off what Suvarna ma'am just talked about. I think she had on her fingertips the number of students who are moving, the number of students who are still stuck, which also kind of shows the data orientation that a school leader should have while they're working on moving FLN. I think that's also an interesting insight, which I just kind of grabbed while ma'am was speaking. Andrew, over to you. The next question I want to ask, and it's little related to what Clio was mentioning, right? So Clio talked about the missing middle. Where do you think, or where do you see that gap exists most sharply, and how is it that Rwanda is working around it?
Good, thank you. The most sharp gap is the school leaders, the head teachers and deputy head teachers' understanding of foundational learning and numeracy, and sticking to, some of them still sticking to inspection, lesson observation, mistaken to be inspection, and which scares off some teachers and may not be productive, because when it is mistaken to be an inspection, then the teachers don't get support. So we have that, we still have that kind of sharp gap between the school leaders. But what has the government of Rwanda done? One, and as in charge of school leaders training, because I'm in charge of their recruitment, their training, and management, capacity building and management. So we have, first of all, trained, as I mentioned before, we have trained all school leaders in foundational learning, foundational education, so that they have adequate knowledge on foundational learning. We have also insisted that students' learning outcomes becomes their core business. The core business of a school leader is students' learning outcome. And we have, what have we done? We have done, we developed a school improvement plan, universal, a kind of, we gave them what each school should be having. And we want to see the head teacher's plan, the vision, a visionary school that a head teacher has in 3 years or 5 years. This school improvement plan is for 3 years or 5 years, but broken into action plan, annual or operational plan. So, but we want to see the plan the school has, promoting students' learning outcome from this level to this level. What plan does the school have in the first year, in the second year, in the third year, in the fourth year and fifth year? Which plan does the school have as far as the students' learning outcome is concerned? In schools, we have created structures for school leaders to reflect, to learn from each other. We have what we call professional learning communities, PLCs. These are, it's a platform for school leaders to learn from each other, collaborative problem solving. They meet per month. Each month, there is a meeting for head teachers in a certain zone for them to collaboratively look for ways of solving problems concerning learning. We have also developed a culture of accountability among school leaders. This time we developed by statute, because we have a special statute governing education workers or those who work in education in basic schools. We have a special statute governing them, different from a general statute governing public servants. So in this one, each school head teacher per 3 years will be evaluated. Evaluation of, we call it comprehensive evaluation for school leaders. Each head teacher and deputy head teacher is evaluated. The performance is evaluated by the Ministry of Education. We evaluate the performance of school leaders to be held accountable for students' learning outcomes. And so when we are evaluating, we make sure that the learning outcomes of the students from the school he leads, their marks in the national exams are counted to the performance evaluation for the school leader, because their passing or their failure is attributed to the school leadership. So should you make students fail, then you also get less marks. And when you get less marks, it is an avenue of removing a school leader from office and be demoted to teaching. We now have, for a way of strengthening accountability, we demote school leaders to teaching positions. You've been a head teacher, but because you are not performing to our expectation, we demote you to become a classroom teacher. And the most important is learning outcomes of the students.
Understood. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that insight. And before we move on to the next question, I see that there are some Q&A, some questions on the Q&A section that have already appeared. Some of them are fairly controversial. Yes, thank you so much. Let's have the poll first. And yeah, so while we have the poll, let me just pick up the question that Benjamin has asked of all of you. And please feel free to choose and answer like whomsoever would want to take this up. That in what ways can we ensure that students do not just learn for the sake of exams and grades, but internalize what is being taught and use them as tools for solving problems? That's an interesting one. Clio, do you want to take that question?
This is the exam question, right?
Yes.
Yes, I think this question goes really to the heart of the issue, and I think it's completely and it's true that end of primary exam, for instance, which are probably the most relevant for the foundational learning part, probably created very strong incentives for school leaders to put their best teachers, at the end of primary, and without changing that incentive, it's very unlikely that people can make different choices because they're accountable to some extent to their hierarchy and to parents. So I think there are two approaches that could be interesting consider for this. I think, to me, the most promising one is to just improve the content of the exams, to make it focus actually also on, foundational, making sure that, children read with comprehension, are actually acquiring, both these automatic skills as well as the kind of higher order skills associated with reading, but also with math, that, for instance, students also are tested on their conceptual understanding of math problems as part of the exams, because then, you would align incentives very well. In a way, one of the unspoken issue is that the content of the exam is often focused on rote learning, sometimes, especially in a sub-Saharan African context, in a foreign language. And there's actually a good study by Newman Burdett that is was published as part of the RISE program that analyzes in a few countries the fact that, one of the core issues is as exam content, does not test for higher order skills. So first approach is improving the content of the exams towards, foundational skills and higher order skills to align incentives. The second, I think, approach to consider is that, when these exams are high stakes, it creates, again, the incentive for the system to, teach to the test, put the question, and lower the questions, level to rote learning eventually, because, you cannot, there's a lot of pressure essentially for students to succeed, to access secondary schools and so on. And so I think also at the end of primary, lowering the stakes on top of improving the content is another promising approach. But really great question and a non-trivial one. I would love to hear from other panelists about their views too.
Thanks so much, Clio. But before we move into that, we have the results from the poll that we just asked. Can we see that? So school leaders in my context spent enough time in classrooms supporting teachers on FLN. 23% of our people strongly disagree with this, 42% disagree, and it's only 35% who agree, which kind of also shows that there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Still, almost 65% of the people mentioned that they are not spending as much time as they should to improve FLN, right? Before we move on to the next question, can we also have one more poll question that our participants can answer? Let's do that. All right, I'll read out the question for all of you. School leaders need a strong understanding of curriculum and pedagogy to effectively improve FLN, right? I would request the participants to kindly record their responses, and then we can move on to the next question on the poll. Just give me a second. Are schools testing grounds? Todd, do you want to take that question?
Sure. I'm not sure exactly what's meant by the question. So maybe the person who asked can clarify in the Q&A, but absolutely, in multiple senses, schools are testing grounds. We're hearing a lot about testing and assessment across the panel, but also, I don't know if this is the sense of the question, but we experiment with lots of different things across schools, across school systems, across districts, within a country or regions, depending on the administrative unit. So we're constantly experimenting, right? Whether we structure that experimentation, whether we learn from it and adapt our practices based on it is another question, though, right? But undoubtedly, there's lots of testing and experimentation going on constantly, and I think the challenge is to structure it and to learn from it.
Got it. Thank you. Suvarna ma'am, do you have a point of view on this? Do you think schools are experimental grounds?
Not experimental, but school leader and teacher should involve in it, not taking it as an experimental ground, because they should understand the reality, ground reality of the students' learning levels. Because in government schools, in the rural areas, if they join in initial classes of the schools, the students' learning levels are very low, and some students' learning levels are high. So teachers, we cannot say that it is experimental, but school leader, including the teacher, should involve in it and understanding the learning levels of the students so that they can do. We cannot take it as experimental grounds as per my experience. We should work on it where the student requires guidance or teaching from the teacher, and where the teacher requires guidance from the school leader. So that is very important. And school leader is plays a key role getting the things done by the higher officer from the government, which should reach to the students as well as the teachers. So school leader plays a very important role, not as a experimental grounds, because all of them should work as a team to improve the learning levels of the students basing on their levels. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for that point of view, Suvarna ma'am. Before we go any further, let's see the results of the poll. School leaders need a strong understanding of curriculum and pedagogy to effectively improve FLN. There are 15% of people who disagree with this, and the rest, 85% people, agree or strongly agree with this statement. It's good to see that most of the people are essentially feeling this way, that the school leaders need to be more and more involved and not just focus on the administrative stuff, but also be aware of the pedagogy and the curriculum so as to really drive outcomes. And I was also going through the Q&A. I would like to bundle some of the questions in the interest of time. One question is primarily in terms of how is it that the school leaders balance a lot of priorities that are there to them, right? They have to do school management, work with parents, also manage teachers. Amidst all of this, how is it that you suggest they balance these priorities and focus a lot on FLN? Anybody who wants to take this?
Yes. Can I say something?
Yes, Andrew.
Here in Rwanda, we have strengthened parents in school management. And by statute, there we have school general assembly committees, which hold accountable the head teacher, the school leadership. We have a general assembly, which is the overall school authority, but represented by a school executive committee and school audit committee. So everything that a school leader does has to be approved by these committees, including a school improvement plan, because they are part of school improvement planning team. So an action plan is done by the school leader, but with this team, the executive committee, but audited. Its implementation is audited by the school audit committee, including finances, school finances. They have to audit and give report. So they are playing a part in school management, and everything that it does in school is planned and monitored and evaluated by the parents.
Thank you so much for that, Andrew. So in the interest of time, next question I want to ask, and I would want a 90-second response to this. And post that, we'll go towards wrapping the session. There's a question, there are actually a few questions on managing the middle, right? How is it that we should think about managing this middle that we are talking about, the coaching layer, especially in larger systems? How is it that we work on the curriculum, assessment, all of these things? And I also have another question that is in my head when I talk about this cadre, because I have read a lot of opinions on this. Do you think these coaches should also be evaluators of the classrooms? Because that could be a mixed incentive for these people to just fudge the data. right? Anybody who wants to take this? Clio?
Yeah, thanks. And I'm sure others may have things to add. So two thoughts. First, on the coaches also being evaluators of the classroom, this is indeed, an issue you face in many systems because the inspectors may be the only people available to actually do the coaching. So I do agree that mixing both makes it more difficult. But that said, so and you probably need actually both sides. But I agree that this is, one of the difficulty that many systems face. On the middle tier piece, my impression is that the term middle tier indeed, in several definitions is all encompassing of anything between the policy and, the school. And as if you think about it like this, it's slightly overwhelming. Whereas if you think about, in terms of, functions and, for instance, this role of managing the coaches, I think that there are many more, potentially actionable interventions that you can think about. My impression is also that to some extent, some of the kind of practical interventions are broadly around incentivizing the managers of the coaches to have the coaches be more in the classroom and do more school visits, which is again, an easily quantifiable metrics and potentially focus the school visits on the lagging schools. And so I feel like a very practical approach to, just how do you get this layer to spend not all of their time, but just a significant amount of their time, maybe it's 20%, maybe a bit more, reviewing the data, asking the right question, would already take us a long way.
Thanks, Clio. All right, just to sum everything up, and if I have to give you all 30 seconds, then I would want all of you to share in just one sentence, what is one action that you would like school leaders, or let's say the systems that are supporting them, to take in the next 12 months to support FLN? We can start with you, Todd.
Assessment. We heard it from both of our practitioners that strong forms of assessment are happening in classrooms in India, throughout the Rwandan system. That's not the case in all low and middle income countries. So I think there's a lot of scope to follow the lead of these models, assess students as a first step to understanding how we can improve their outcomes.
Got it. Thanks so much. Suvarna, ma'am?
Yeah. Conducting baseline assessment and making them into groups, and the remediation should be done between the current levels of the students as well as the learning level. So it should be done continuously, and taking assessment every 15 days and observing the improvement levels of the students. By doing continuously, definitely there will be a lot of improvement in the foundational literacy and numeracy of the students. What we did in our institutions in Telangana state.
Got it. Thank you so
12
much,
months,
Suvarna.
it will be very easy. By the end of the academic year, there is a vast improvement in the learning levels of the students. Foundation, there won't be any student at the beginner number level or later level. So almost all the students, they reach to paragraph level or comprehension, as well as division level and word mass in numeracy.
Got it. Thank you so much, ma'am. Andrew, your comment on this?
Maybe we should increase regular trainings on classroom observation, and training school leaders on classroom observation, how to give constructive feedback, and change their mind from inspection to support, so that lesson observation is meant to support teachers, not to inspect them and judge them, rather give them constructive feedback.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
So focus on training and mentoring rather than inspecting. Thanks so much. Clio, last thoughts?
Yeah, I would say just making sure that there's more classroom observations happening and more teacher coaching. I think the next level would be, as Andrew mentioned, also improving the quality of that coaching. But I think just increasing the number of professional touch points of teachers with other professionals and adults would be the top priorities.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, not just Clio, but everybody for really being with us today and with all of your insights. With that, I would like to hand it over to Tejas to close us.
Thank you, Sambhrant, and thanks, Clio, Suvarna, ma'am, Todd, and Andrew for such an insightful discussion. And of course, to all our audience for engaging in this discussion as well. As you know, the School Leadership Matters Summit is a 3-day event, and we are on day 2. We have another session to go. The next one is about the role of school leaders in creating gender equitable schools. And you'll have you'll see in the chat there are some details for you to register, and there are some events that's happening tomorrow as well. So please register, and we'll see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.